draft pod. That'd be kind of fun.
Draft pod, full effect. Combine recap, all the implications. The Chiefs are now drafting right before the Broncos at 30. What does that mean? All sorts of stuff going on. It's a wide open draft class. I think we've got lots of updates to go through. We won't even be able to do it in an hour, but we're going to try. Starting now. DNVR Draft Pod. We're doing it. That's right, baby. Back live in the Toyota Lounge doing our thing. Toyota, build responsibly. No, let's go places. We're going places. The Broncos were in Indy. They went places last week. Little thing called the NFL Combine.
Right.
Ever heard of it, Jake?
This is actually my first time.
Yeah. That's right. I went once and we didn't combine anything, so I was just confused.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke of no one had a worse trip than Mark Sanchez last year. Insensitive, honestly.
That would be insensitive. It's a
Mark,
good thing.
I hope all the best, and even if that means
No, you know what? Be nice.
justice is served to
Be
you.
nice
Did you
to
see the
people,
news
actually.
Oh,
report?
yeah, be nice. That's
He was
right.
on like fentanyl and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
I mean,
Don't mess with the fentanyl.
gosh, I don't... Cocaine, fentanyl, alcohol, weed.
Right.
Obviously, the fentanyl, I don't think, was taken on purpose. It was mixed into...
Okay.
I
Is
would
that
assume the
reported
cocaine.
or an assumption?
Look,
Right.
I'm not an expert.
In
I
court,
know.
I would blame the fentanyl, frankly, on my crazy
Well,
behavior.
Last week on the draft pod, I had those 3 beers the night before, and I was struggling. Like I couldn't drink coffee that morning.
Yeah.
I just can't even relate
Yeah.
to Mark Sanchez
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Oh man, I really meant to not do that. I'm so sorry. I'm
No, it's
so
okay.
sorry.
It's good to.
To the Toyota chat. I apologize.
Good joke,
a lot
Jose.
of Eli Stowers already. First comment. I love that. That's the vibe of this show. Is I want us to really open our minds. Everything we knew before. We are sickos. We do this year round, Jake. So to me, timelines and progression arcs are probably more important than most. But I'm reminded that in this business, you have scouting staffs that do what we do. And then you have
Exactly
decision
what we do,
makers
yeah.
who come in like Hank does
Right.
during the off season, and they bring a whole new perspective and kind of take what we did, the measly region scouts, tear it all up, and it's
Say,
a new
oh, look,
day.
he ran a 4.3.
Yes.
We're all in on this guy. And then
Yep.
you smart people say, like, no, we don't fall for that garbage.
When I worked at SIS, my boss was a former scout, and he'd always tell us, before the combine, it was take a picture time of the board because it's as good as it's going to look before what we're about to talk
Right.
about happens.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And the
Yep.
more we've done this, I do think that your like late February board, your late February mocks often are the things that end up proving out the most.
Right.
the cycle, bro.
Yeah.
It always comes back around.
No, and I like
Yes.
what you said about opening our minds because that's where
Yeah.
I'm at because
Let's
I think
go.
I've just been too closed-minded. Like, so I just put the first mock draft up on the website, and it was painful to make. Like you think like you're sitting down to write a mock draft, what's that going to take? And next thing you know, you're sitting there trying to find like a 4th round pick who actually makes sense,
Ooh.
and you're just like, nobody fits. Like everybody is so
Yeah.
flawed. Like
Yeah.
the Broncos don't need this, the Broncos don't need that. Like they only need like 3 things, and so you're just totally stuck. And I do think that because of where the Broncos are, I've just closed off like 60% of players in the draft
know.
don't fit, and that just doesn't work. You gotta open your mind because they're good players. This might not be exactly what you need.
And especially in relation to last year, I think I suffered from a lack of open mind. And like Jahdae Barron out of Indy ran a 4.39, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, not the Bolitnikoff, that goes to the wide receiver. The Thorpe Award winner just ran a 4.39 and was, in a lot of boards jumping up to the top 10.
Only guy who beat Travis Hunter for an award.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. We didn't really pay attention, We weren't thinking like that.
It happens.
It happens. So I'm going to try and open our minds, and also some general draft talk, because I do think this is a wide open class and things have really changed a lot. Starting with Sonny Styles, a guy who, Jake, at certain points in this year, was the most commonly mocked guy to the Broncos.
Yeah.
The former converted safety, off-ball linebacker at Ohio State. Now, after the measurements alone for a converted safety, kid who's 6'5", 244 was like, what in the world? And we were live reacting to that last week on the draft pod. So we had that conversation of CJ Allen being a little too small, blah, blah, blah. But then he goes and has otherworldly combine numbers. And to me at this point, after Mendoza at 1, in some order, it's going to be Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, and David Bailey. All those guys are going top 5, top 6, but they're gone.
Yep.
It's just a nice little update. I don't know if you want to touch on Sonny Styles.
Congrats to him. Made himself a ton of money.
Yeah.
And is way far out of the Broncos range now. So,
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, David Bailey. How do you rank those three?
Bailey, Reese, Styles.
I think I agree, though I have been tempted even pre-combine to flip Styles and Reese.
Oh, really?
Styles higher floor, Reese higher ceiling, right?
Off-ball linebacker, though.
Yeah. I just think like his, not worst case scenario, but feels like his most high percentage outcome is he's just like Tremaine Edmonds, who looking back, I probably overrated and hasn't had the high ceiling career I hope for.
Top 10 pick.
Top 10 pick, right? Drafted at 19.
Had a long career.
Yeah. He just, like the fact the Bills didn't keep him is a big indicator of like, but he's going to be a top 10 linebacker for like 10 years.
Yeah.
He just might never be a top 5 linebacker.
You're that confident about Sonny Styles?
Yeah.
Okay. It scares me. Like those guys who like
the boxes
move from safety to linebacker.
But he's been playing it for a while, though.
Yeah. I don't know.
And he's massive.
He's gigantic.
Yeah. He is gigantic. Like all the physical stuff is there.
And it's like, you're right, an off-ball linebacker, but he has the off-ball linebacker premier trait in coverage, his movement skills, his athleticism. And that to me is a massive separator, just like Jeremiah Love is still to me, Jeremiah Love is the set and forget first skill player to go in this class.
Yes.
And it's because he does have that versatility in the pass game too.
Yeah.
And it's why he's a Saquon, Zeke Elliott type back.
Yeah.
I agree.
When you bring that third down versatility and at the non-premium positions, you have a premium trait, which kind of offsets the lack of premium position.
Yeah.
I think fair to say the Kenyon Sadiq dream is over.
Yes.
Long over. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's done so.
Yeah.
I think he's the first pass catcher to go in this draft.
Really?
That's my hot take.
Yeah.
He's not my highest ranked pass catcher. I do still have Tyson and Tate slightly ahead of him. But slightly.
There's some Tate slander going on right now, but I think
I want to get to Tate.
Okay, I'll save it.
Those hand time 40s.
They
were lots of, yeah.
Isn't
What
that
are we doing,
hilarious? Isn't that hilarious? Even the measurements for Ruben Bain that were like, well, some have measured him himself and measured 32 inch. It's like, get out of here, man.
You measured. Did you just a measurement? It's not subjective.
Well, I mean, the most hilarious is when their measurements come differently from the Senior Bowl to the Combine.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, my favorite line, right, is humans scouting humans is the most inexact science of
That is true.
all time. Like, we're humans, we're imperfect. And then when we then analyze and try to assess value on a human, that imperfection doubles, and it's why this is the best.
Yep.
And the dumbest and the most fun.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Speaking of Oregon Ducks, Dillon Thieneman.
Yeah.
Your guy, Jake.
Yeah.
I think he was if the Broncos drafted a safety, Thieneman is one of these 5 guys we'd be interested by. Dream's over.
Is it? Okay.
I think what he just did at the combine, running a 4.39, having a 40-inch vertical, like, it's done and dusted. It's over.
Wow. Okay, so he was my first round pick in the mock draft for the Broncos. And with the note being that, like, you don't really know who's going to fall here, and this is one of the guys who could fall here, and so I'm going to pick him. Because before the combine, where did we expect him to go?
Probably late first round, early second.
Okay, still first.
Yeah.
Okay, because I always think at that point he's like mid second, but I think he's interesting. He plays a lot like Hufanga. Like, that's when you watch and you see like the top down, like just like flying in the box, flying through into the backfield to make plays. I think it's kind of interesting because he is the exact type of safety that the Broncos like. You know, and so you fear a little bit like it's redundant. Is he best in the box like Hufanga? But remember, this is the team that got rid of Justin Simmons because they just didn't think he was built for contact and physicality.
Yeah.
And you go and get Brandon Jones, a 6-foot safety. Like, I think he would make a lot of sense if he's on the board. But it's interesting to think that you're that confident he's off.
Just after the testing and stuff. I mean, look.
Yeah.
I think it's possible still because safeties drop all the damn time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why George Payton always scoops him up. But
that was reaction 1 from Jake after the DBs tested was
he's not gonna be able to resist.
He's not gonna be able to resist.
George will be so tempted by this DB class.
Absolutely.
Fastest DB class of all time. Like, everyone ran in the 4.4s. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. Now?
Oh,
that's a good teaser. Yeah, let's take our first break real quick, and then let's get into that and so much more, because we've gotten the guys who probably the dream is over out the way. Now I want to talk about who's tested their way into the Broncos range. So let's get that to the other side. But first, a shout out to our friends at New Built Restoration and Construction. They are licensed general contractors who can help with any project, big or small. They're available 24/7, which is clutch because you never know when that repair's gonna hit. And they truly care about their customers. They're also DNVR homies, which we love. Over 600 reviews can prove that to be true. Their great customer service and the care they show. They'll work with your insurance to make sure a stressful process like this is as smooth as possible. And the repair services they offer are ample. Fire damage, water damage, mold removal, repair services, commercial projects, you name it. They are true DNVR fans. They love the Nuggets. They're all in on the draft coverage this year, which we love them for. So when that home emergency hits, New Build Restoration and Construction will be there at nubilt.com or 720-902-7472. Let them know DNVR sent you. And a shout out to our friends at Common Spirit Sports Medicine. Athletes, weekend warriors, anyone who loves to move. For those experiencing any sport injury or chronic pain, the Common Spirit Mountain region is home to an incredible sports medicine program, including their new sports center, Common Spirit Health in Parker. This team of qualified and passionate providers specializes in diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of sports-related injuries for all athletes, including your Denver Broncos. It's not just about fixing what's broken either at Common Spirit Health. It's also about preventative care, performance enhancement, and getting you back to peak condition as safely and quickly as possible. Don't let an injury keep you on the bench, or even better, get proactive about your health. For more information, visit mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health, official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos. We are so back. Do we want to ask about in the Toyota Lounge, in the Toyota chat? We've got a question. Can you clarify the linebacker Wilson thing? Our guy, Pure Lapine, and then we'll read the super chats at the end. We appreciate you.
Also, real quick on Thieneman.
Yeah.
So about half of the mock drafts, more than half at this point, are sending him to the Vikings at 18.
Yeah.
Because he looks like Harrison Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, I will take that step and say that is why that's happening. And these are always skewed because they don't show the ones where he isn't picked in the first round, and most of these are just first round mocks. But it is, I mean, it's number 30.
It's funny that he strikes you as a Hufanga guy. I get it. 96 tackles last season. This is a guy that has 8 interceptions, though, to his name.
Totally.
Like,
but I mean,
we were talking about as a single high.
306 career tackles.
Do you think he's best as a single high? Because I think he can do all those things.
I think the beauty of him is he checks off all those boxes.
I'd say same thing about Hufanga. I think back at first in his career, there was a lot more single high, and he's just kind of moved more into the box.
Hufanga's just so good in the box that
you can't justify
it's
it.
hard to
Right.
It's hard to think of him as an all-around guy when one of those all-around traits like far kind of
makes him an
surpasses
all-pro.
the other
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other big change from the combine, I'd say, is Monroe Freeling is kind of offensive tackle 1. Even if he's not offensive tackle 1, I think that combine was impressive enough to where he used to be a guy, the left tackle from Georgia, who was mocked in the Broncos range at 30. That's another dream is done and dusted. We're moving on.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the track now?
Do you want to talk about the track?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the track.
You tell us about the track.
No, the DB numbers are so good that George won't be able to help himself.
Right.
It also is sounding like maybe a new track in Indy. And I think this happened in 2024, fairly recently.
Yes.
So those were also eye-popping numbers. And I think, the good programs change their turf more often. And obviously Irsay's daughter is the new owner. And I think we just had a refresh at Lucas Oil Stadium. And all these numbers need to be taken with a slight grain of salt and maybe add a 0.05 to every number you get.
Yeah, so they did also do a surface change in, I believe, 2018. I don't know if it was as drastic as it was recently because it was a kind of cutting edge type of turf.
We're making great improvements on the turf side of things. I
mean,
think.
Look, they talk about describing this new turf, and they're talking about how it's like bouncier and how it's like lighter on like impact and player stuff. So like, I think it could be worth maybe like, I don't know, quarter, half an inch in dirt or something.
Exactly.
You know, like, but we've had the Penn State track theory too from pro days from them
for sure.
Because they test outrageous 40s at Penn State. Constantly.
Right. It is interesting. I do think though that the athletes will keep getting faster.
I agree.
And I think when that happens, there are going to be years where you kind of have the jump and then it stays kind of flat for a couple years and then you kind of have the jump again. So
It's
I'm
also
not
more
it's
of a
not all real.
speed game in college.
Oh, right.
And it's more deep,
Totally.
right? We've been talking about the influx of talented DBs and wide receivers is more than ever, and we're playing 4 wide more than ever, and we're playing nickel more than ever. So, like, it's also the way the college game is skewing is just serving itself to more athleticism, more speed-oriented.
And the 40-yard dash is, I don't know when it became like a science, like 15 years ago when there's like coaches who are now saying like, here's the best way to do it. But those coaches are getting better. Those kids are growing up. I saw on Broncos pod yesterday, like Spano's son was running laser time 40s as a 6th grader. Like that's just the world we live in now where all these guys at this point have been thinking about the 40-yard dash their entire life and kind of playing for it. And so it makes sense. It is a big jump this year, but I think sometimes big jumps and then kind of leveling off is how that goes.
There's also some selection bias, I think, too.
Right.
Because just players who know that they're not going to test well on the 40 or that they might have an undesirable time.
They no longer run.
They just don't run anymore. So your variance is getting shrunk drastically, and with that, the average is going to just move down. It's just
100%.
Stats, so.
Transitioning to guys who maybe have played their way into being in the Broncos range.
Okay.
First guys I wanted to throw out, Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
Teensy bit shorter than we expected, but nothing crazy. I think he's still like high 6'2s, low 6'3s. I'm pulling it up now. And then Makai Lemon went viral for some weird presser, and apparently his interviews weren't great, is the report that's circling.
I don't buy that report. I'll start there.
What do you think about this whole thing?
I saw it the first time and thought, what is happening here? I think my
Great reaction to
official take is, I think he was nervous.
Sure.
I think he was very nervous, and that's
Really?
just kind of how he like that. He puts on like
He was dealing
almost like
with
a
it.
tough guy
Yeah,
face.
sure.
It was weird.
He strikes me as a dry humor savant.
Oh, so the whole
As
thing was
someone
a
who
bit.
loves dry humor.
Like he thought he was on like Key and Peele or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I think he's being a bit of a silly goose. Now the fact that he's maybe being a silly goose in the interviews with teams doesn't suggest he's taking this seriously, you know?
I think, I guess I don't know who the first like interviews with teams were bad report guy was, but in the same way that I
Yeah.
don't buy that like, well, the
Yeah.
hand time 40 times are actually showing that Carnell Tate is faster. Like it's the same thing to me where it's like, it's just so easy to pile on this kid right now. And so whatever
Yeah.
aggregator
Yeah.
or whatever guy, it's like
Yes.
the meetings were bad. And it's
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it's so easy just to take that because like, look, you saw it for yourself. So I don't read too much into it. I definitely don't come away from it saying like, I need to go get Makai Lemon, but I also am not digging him all that much for it was strange.
Good take. Good take.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
I
Tate,
do like
so
watching that video though. I will say that. It makes me laugh.
You have some interesting lemon thoughts too.
Do I?
Yeah, I think you do.
You're not gonna say like it's the best fruit or something.
No. Underrated fruit, though, I think.
That's kind of crazy. That's a bad fruit. It's not useful.
Look, he's...
Very useful.
I see a lot of Amon-Ra comps, right?
Yes.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe it's helmet scouting. I don't know.
I think
Yep.
it is.
But
The definition of
there's some similarities, right?
Yes.
Some.
Yak demon, catches everything.
Yep.
And
Dog.
maybe slightly undersized, but has that dog mentality. For sure.
Like dog slot.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't a Zay Flowers, Wes Welker, like Carvyop slot. It's not even a Jackson Smith and Jigba technician slot. This is a
smooth slot.
dog slot.
Dog
Yeah.
slot.
Gritty.
Gritty, yes,
yeah.
competitive.
Amon-Ra was drafted with the 112th overall pick.
Yeah. That's not a top 100 pick.
Not a top 100 pick. It's also not a top 50 pick.
Yep.
Or a first round pick.
Should have been a top 5 pick.
These are facts.
I mean,
hindsight.
yes, in hindsight, for sure.
In hindsight.
I just wouldn't take Makai Lemon, I think, in the first round.
What about at 30?
So, look, again, we've talked a bit about this, right? This is probably a draft where maybe other years you look at the 30th overall pick and you're like, damn, we're going to have to reach on someone. This year, because of the lack maybe of first round grades compared to other classes, or maybe it's similar, I don't know, you would tell me on that, but I just think that you're going to have to kind of reach either way at 30. So why limit yourself if a wide receiver is a little small for... I would take him at 30, yes.
Yeah. And the other thing is Hank, he's a not power slot, but dog slot.
Yep.
Blocking is not in the positives.
That's the tough
So
part.
if you're playing those McVay 11 personnel tight sets where all the wide receivers are in tight and you feel good about running out of those because you have a big slot who can block, that ain't Makai Lemon.
Or just to pin someone on a pin pull like type of
Right.
thing.
Also
Which-
small hands.
Again, we'll see what the
Yes.
Broncos look like at the time, but like if you wind up with ETN and RJ Harvey as your running backs,
Yeah.
you're gonna want somebody who can make that pinball.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Honestly, I'm having trouble separating any of these receivers. And that's where I'm at.
I think the combine makes it feel like that
Yeah.
to where it's way more wide open. And that's where I think the Lemon conversation's interesting.
Right.
Because he was the most productive of these wide receivers.
Yes.
And kind of
Litnikoff Award winner.
exactly. And kind of rose up to be like, oh, him and Tate and Tyson are the consensus top 3. Well, we always felt Tate and Tyson were the consensus top 2. And then it does open up. I mean, yes, Casey Concepcion's been in that conversation. Makai Lemon's been in, but why not Denzel Boston? Why not Germie Bernard, who was almost 6'2" and tested really well? Chris Bell is still an absolute favorite of mine.
Yes.
Boston, by the way, measured bigger than Carnell Tate.
Okay.
Almost an inch taller. And he has some slot versatility as well at that size. Chris Brazel, say what you will. This kid's a full 6'4" and ran a 4.3. And I know that Tennessee offense is terrifying, but I don't know, man. This kid also has tape at Toledo.
Yeah. And look, and the thing for me too, like Jalen Hyatt, he made so much money off that Alabama game, right? The 4 touchdown game, whatever it was. And that was, to me, what scared me the most about him, is that we were just talking about this game, and Brazel does have a much better like body of work than Jalen Hyatt did coming out.
In fairness, he also is carried by, I think it's the Georgia game for him, where he went nutty 200 for like 3 tuds. Yeah. He has a 1 3-tud game.
But like you said, he's got production at a smaller level too. He's he's got 3 years solid production.
It's just they don't grow on trees. The 6'4" guys who can run 4 3s and are legit. Yeah, it is Georgia. 177, 3 touchdowns on 6 catches.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then, like, I go back to, like, Kevin Concepcion, too. Because, like, that's another... Like,
KC Concepcion.
Either way. Or.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
good.
Take your pick.
Good. No, I didn't.
Yeah. I wonder what the C stands for.
Also, you were telling me McNeil Warren. No. Someone was telling me McNeil Warren was going by just Warren on the scouting report.
Okay.
All right.
I think I like that better. I'm trying to picture on a jersey. I don't think long hyphenated last name for like a star safety.
Oh no, I think that fits.
Does it? Who's the last one?
I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but I
think it's a sick jersey
in my mind.
I agree.
Sick.
It's a good.
But I think that
jersey.
it might just be a bit much for it to actually work out. But
interesting.
Also Omar Cooper Jr.
Elevated scale.
Yes.
Like that's another guy who like.
Yes, I meant to mention him. I think you could make a strong case for him being wide receiver 3 in this class.
Yeah. And
Jake's the ultimate.
That's my guy.
Truther.
This is where I just have casual takes where it's like my belief is that let's just say one of the we'll take Tate and Tyson out of it from Lemon, Boston, Concepcion, Cooper, Brazel, Bell. Like one of those guys, I think will be a guy who goes and gets like 1,300 yards a year in the NFL. Yes. I'm just too scared to roll the dice because I don't trust myself enough at this point in the draft. Like I think by draft day, I'm going to have one of these guys where I'm like, this is the one. But any given day, you can turn one of them on and just be like, Omar Cooper looks like Debo, but potentially like a little bit craftier and can actually do a little bit more downfield. So I don't know. Like I'm stuck at receiver at the moment. I've got receiver block.
I mean, it's a deep class.
It is.
But it lacks maybe that elite.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison, Jamar Chase type player.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert, Marvin Harrison didn't work out. Bryce Lance is a guy I think you brought up, North Dakota State.
Yes, bro.
Over 6'3", over 200 pounds, and another guy who ran a blazing fast time, had 1,000 yards on 51 grabs and 8 tuds at North Dakota State. 21 on average. I mean, if he's Christian Watson with better hands, does that sound good?
Sounds fantastic,
right?
And so that was this year. So last year, when NDSU won the championship, he had 6 catches for 125 yards and 3 touchdowns against South Dakota State in the semifinal, then 9 for 107 and a touchdown in the championship. So like he was like their offense when they won a championship because he just didn't belong on the same field with those guys.
Yeah, this playoff run is crazy from him last year.
Yeah. And now, of course, you have a team like the Chiefs drafting right in front of you who maybe could find their cornerback at 10 to replace McDuffie and maybe are in that same wide receiver market at 29 or running back market at 29 or edge rusher market at 29. I want to talk about the edge rushers. I want to talk about the wide receiver depth, and we'll hear what Hank is saying. That is the thing. But first, they shout out to our friends at Toyota, baby boy. It's time to build through the trenches with Toyota. The perfect Colorado car. Trucks, SUVs, they know trench play. They're the perfect Colorado car. Perfect car to get lost in our mountains. 4-wheel, all-wheel drive. They've got you covered. Anyone at DNVR who drives a Toyota swears by it. Their reliability, their customer care. We love a good Toyota. They get us out of jams. They're the car for you. So, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, I urge you, my friend, to visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, an official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, we say build through the trenches. They say, let's go places. And then a shout out to our good friends at Gold Crown Foundation. Things are popping off at Gold Crown these days. They've got all sorts of spring sports programs going on for sports right now. Basketball, volleyball, golf, girls flag football, which is real popular. I was going to say something about scouting those because we love scouting, but maybe that come off as weird. So we're not going to do that. But they're great sports league, 3rd through 8th grade. They've got them. They love the all-girls leagues. They've got basketball camps and leagues going on, kids and skill clinics, 3-on-3, 5-on-5 each night going on. They've got golf tournaments, JV girls golf tournaments as well, and spring volleyball, which is awesome. Love me some volleyball. So learn more, sign up your kids. We've got some QR codes going on, or visit goldcrownfoundation.com. We are so back in the Toyota Lounge. We are going places.
Yeah, we are.
And that place is what Henry was about to tell us. The thing is,
the thing
This
is,
guy's a pro.
when you start listing off so many positions for a team's needs,
yeah,
you realize the team just isn't that good.
Yep.
It's like, wow, they could go corner. Could they go edge? Could
Yep.
they, then all of a sudden you're just like, they really, other than like interior offensive line, they've got questions everywhere.
And
Right.
Henry, what if I told you that's the majority of the NFL too?
Right. You forget that there are teams who
Yeah.
actually do play their first round draft picks.
Oh, we let bad teams into the playoffs in this league.
We do.
yeah, it's
Particularly last year. It's
Yes.
the quarterback contracts got too big too fast, and now all the teams that paid their quarterbacks suck.
Yep.
Or at least are mid. We'll give like the Bills don't suck.
It's a real
But
hurdle.
like Chiefs mid, Ravens mid,
Isn't that parody fantastic,
Bengals bad.
though?
It is. It is. But it's also terrifying because eventually the Broncos will pay their quarterback.
sure.
Do the Broncos need an edge rusher? Because Cashius Howell's short arms and Akheem Mesidor's 259 pounds.
Okay.
For a guy who didn't test. Remember when we saw him listed in the like 270s and we were both like, oh.
Right. So as of now, Benito, Cooper, Jonah Ellis, Hugh Robinson,
Yeah.
Dondre.
Yeah.
All of them under contract for at least through 2027.
I love those guys.
Exactly. So if you're adding a guy,
Throw in Drew Sanders.
just-
Don't let me
Right.
lose hope for
Right.
Drew
Man.
Sanders.
right? I mean, so you're carrying 6 at a minimum, and the 6th guy has like first he could either beat Dondre and become like your second and short, get on the field, like stuff the run type guy. But I think Dondre is so good at that and are using a first round pick on a run stuffer anyway. Like I'm not sure a run stuffing edge. So I don't see the fit. It's the same reason like the whole Von Miller dream doesn't make sense because
Yeah.
what are you doing? Because if
Yep.
I don't think you can get rid of Cooper, because if you get rid of Cooper, then all of a sudden you're down another guy who can stop the run. So it kind of has to be Jonah Ellis, who you just ditch. Like, is that good before you even factor in you're paying more for Vaughn? So I don't see how it makes sense.
There are not a ton of JFM body types in this draft, guys.
No.
Nope, not one.
Not a ton.
And I tried. Like,
Gabe Akis. I think the J is silent, which honestly it makes sense. Derek Moore measured in smaller than we liked. I just mentioned Mesidor. Zion Young, we talked about last episode. Yes, he's 6'6", 260, but I don't know. That's not quite JFM size.
Right.
And so then it becomes similar to our, do you need just a Ben Powers replacement on the O-line, or do you need an immediate Ben Powers replacement who can be developed to eventually replace McGlinchey type convo? And I think we're kind of there with edge, because there are a lot of names at edge in the Broncos range, much like there are at wide receiver, and maybe at corner as well. Which again makes sense why the Chiefs moved up to 29 or moved into the 29th spot. Seems like a sweet spot for their needs. I'm not sure I see a ton of guys who can be your JFM replacement in that range, though.
That's where I'm at. And certainly not any deeper in the draft. Because that was the other thing going through the mock draft is like, there might not be another defensive lineman who's 6'5". You know, like they're just gone in the first round.
Yep.
Like I don't think there's an edge rusher over 260 pounds who's like going to be this. So like there's no way to get that guy.
You could go more classic defensive tackle, right?
And
Peter Woods, Lee Hunter, Caden McDonald, Keldrick Falk's the real interesting one. He's the one JFM body type that does fit. And Falk's the guy who usually the NFL likes more than the draft analyst. And then there's Caleb Banks.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, then we start talking ourselves into Darrell Jackson from Florida State, LT Overton from Alabama, guys like that. It's a good nose tackle draft. It's a good speed edge draft. It's not a great 5-tech draft.
Yeah. And that's where like Peter Woods, I think, would be awesome.
Yes.
Because not only does he have like the juice, and they play him on the edge sometimes, which is crazy for guys like pushing 320 pounds.
Yeah.
But that's why I think he's perfect JFM replacement and probably gives you a bit more as a run stuffer too, which is, why he's likely off the board well before the Broncos pick.
Part of the short arm gang, but yeah.
He slimmed down a
I
little
missed
bit
that.
too.
Okay.
over the
298.
last year. Yep.
Interesting.
He was pretty big before.
Right.
Like easily 300 plus. So
Yeah.
No, I think he'd be a perfect fit.
Yes, he would.
So everybody trade up probably.
And then if we're talking the Clemson guys, TJ Parker's in there. But again, with Mesidor measuring lighter, with Ruben Bain having shorter arms and Cashius Howell having shorter arms, TJ Parker, to me, feels like a guy who's going higher than where he's being mocked right now.
he was
That makes a lot
phenomenal
of sense.
last year.
Yeah.
2 years ago, 2024.
And had some real nice power flashes in the run game too, or in the Senior Bowl as well. We go to O-line, where is Spencer Fano, another member of the Short Arms Club, in Broncos contention? And do we care about him less for the Broncos if he's really just a left guard and not a power right tackle?
Going back to the question before.
Oh, please.
About guards who don't have tackle versatility.
Yeah.
Which is basically the same one.
Yeah.
I think that's okay with proven center versatility.
Yes.
That's where I'm at. I need versatility somewhere, and I think again, like I think
Waddy on notice.
not right now.
security.
Could he be on notice a year from now? Like if all of a sudden you say like actually it's not Ben Powers who's the weak link, it's Luke Wattenberg who we think is the weaker link.
Yeah.
we can extend Powers and we can plug in a new center here. Because I think as of now, I still think the Broncos have the best offensive line in the NFL. And unfortunately, Ben Powers missed so much of the season, we didn't even get to see their full form for half the year. So I don't think you need to make changes, but I do think that changes are, it's the NFL. Changes are inevitable at some point.
And staying
so you
fresh,
just want,
like George was talking
exactly.
about.
You just need pieces that could make that transition easier. So if you tell me like this guy's a pure left guard, it's like, so what? We're just writing Ben Powers off and we're saying we have to play this guy. Maybe Palcho has to. So like, I don't want the whole Ben Powers conversation to be turned into you have to move on next year. It would be really nice if you could save some money and potentially get better because you're using a first-round draft pick. So I think center versatility, tackle versatility, either way works, but you need something.
And I think the beauty of Fano is he could play everywhere on the interior O-line.
Yeah.
Which is why I think he still goes higher than 30.
Yes.
It's a nice interior O-line class, though, if you add Spencer Fano to it. Emmanuel Prignon from Oregon tested well, measured bigger than expected. Olagave Ione, the consensus top interior O-line, didn't measure as well, didn't test. I was hearing McShay on his show. They were talking about as the clear-cut best O-lineman in this class.
Wow.
And when I watch the Penn
Positional
State
value, yeah.
left guard, gotta say, I maybe don't disagree.
Ass kicker.
His tape is awesome, man. He is an ass kicker.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he could be that, like, a big upgrade on Powers.
So I actually don't think that, like, if you just went by position, like this guy's a tackle guard, I don't think that really matters as much in the first round, honestly. Because I think, like what he said, like what McShay said about best, like overall, like offensive lineman, I think that's how it's looked at, especially in the first round. Like you're just taking the best offensive lineman, period. Kind of like what Hank was saying, where if you do have some positional versatility, we're just going to take you and figure it out as we go. I mean, how many times have we talked about it? Like Zion Johnson's a guy who I always think about, who was like that a few years ago, where he played left tackle, but the skill set kind of suggested he could play all over the place. I think he ended up at guard for the Chargers. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing that I think teams are really looking for in the first round.
I think
Makes sense.
the reason the tackles go up the board, though, is because those are the tougher skill sets to find.
For sure.
You just, like, the value is in the fact that you just don't find guys who are 6'6" with 35-inch arms and built like that. And so,
But there's not many of those guys.
Exactly. And
This
so,
class,
like,
a
if you want to
great
just go
example of
get
that.
Vega, then sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it does change your plan a little bit, because I mean, you'd probably just trade Ben Powers maybe even that same day, you know, like he might be out the door, because you probably just plug him right in, with the caveat that Palcho gets to compete for the job. But it'd be different than any of the other guys
You
where
need to
say,
see
like,
your dead
develop.
cap implications there.
Oh no, it's
With
that's
trading him then
I don't
versus
think
maybe cutting him now, you know?
anything changes. And I think
Okay.
if they wouldn't cut him now,
I mean-
they'd trade him now.
That'd be a dream.
But yeah, I don't think.
And I wonder about Chase Bazantis, the A&M interior O-lineman. You know, he measured 6'5", 315, really short arms. But yeah, there's not a lot of those guys. And I thought George Payton's comment about you got to keep refreshing the trenches. I think it applies to the offensive line as much as the defensive line
Absolutely.
this year, if not more, honestly.
Right.
You just got to prepare for it. This is drafting responsibly.
It sure is.
Broncos have to give Ben Powers $500,000, like Friday, I believe.
Okay.
So it doesn't change much.
That's great.
And if you're trading him, then that's another $500,000 the other team doesn't pay, which means his value goes up by
Ben,
$500,000.
enjoy that $500,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll enjoy
Good for him.
a
Spend it
7th round
for
pick
us.
that's now a 6th round pick because we paid it and you didn't.
There you go. And then, I mean, the tackle class taking shape as well, because there really aren't a lot of guys there. It is slim pickings.
I agree.
We talked about Freeling being out the mix. I don't know. I think Kadyn Proctor is probably out the mix too.
Yeah.
Look, we can try and dream.
Mammoth
but
O-lineman.
I feel
Yeah.
like we just end up being disappointed.
Where's,
doubt.
Where's the Arizona State guy going? Ian
Eh,
Oshawa?
Fringe?
In the Broncos range.
He's
In the
fringe.
Broncos
He's
range.
a good
That
player,
was another
too.
one. I traded up in the 2nd round in my mock draft to go get him.
Let's go.
Because same thing where it's like the guys at 62, I'm not sure great, but just getting up to like 50, all of a sudden there might be somebody. And I was like, somebody will slip. Let's just say it's this tackle who slips, so we're going with this tackle.
Let's talk new names in the mix.
Okay.
And we start where we started, which is Eli Stowers. Because there's a mix of big, maybe slower wide receivers, like Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. Great example. He runs a 4.61,
Right.
but he's big.
Right.
Stowers, almost 6'4", almost 240 pounds. Most productive tight end in the country last year at Vandy. Converted quarterback from A&M, and then played a little quarterback at New Mexico, then converts there,
New Mexico
transfers
State.
to Vandy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I think he was a quarterback at A&M
He
to
was.
start his career. You know, when you see, at this point, we're talking about big wide receivers, right? Because Stowers doesn't bring much to the table as far as a blocker. But he runs a 4.51. That's faster than Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
And he breaks the record for vertical jumps at 45.5 inches. That's insane, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is like bonkers.
Yep.
How does he fit when you're evaluating other big wide receivers like my boy, Jacoby Lane, who ran, I mean, he has like half of his catches are touchdowns in his college career. He's a massive wide receiver, ran the gauntlet amazing, and he ran a very surprising 4.4.
Yeah. I'm scared off by the receivers, like receiving tight ends. Like that's where I'm at. I think going back to Stowers in particular, there's obviously a lot of talent there. Like I think that he could. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up being like a 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL, and that's why you say like, does it really matter if you're stuck in year one saying like, well, you're never going to have him and Ingram on the field at the same time because that it just simply does not work. Are you willing to say like Ingram is probably better now for as low as we all are on him at the moment? And so Stowers, we just don't see much from him as a rookie. Or if things go well, we don't see much of Ingram and it's Stowers out there. And who knows what that means for Ingram, whether you like trade him midseason, whether you cut him in camp, even though you don't really save all that much money. I think that type of guy just makes so much more sense to draft next year. Because unlike like an offensive lineman who's going to be on the field a lot, where I like the idea of like, here's a year of seasoning before we put you on the field at such an important position. Receiving tight end, I'm not afraid to say like, oh, you're a rookie and this is a guy who's going to basically play as like a tight end too. We'll throw you out there as a rookie and see what works or doesn't, which maybe is wrong. Maybe picking that guy and letting him sit for a year, unless he's able to beat out Evan, makes sense. But I just, for position, not a position of value, wasting a year even of the rookie contract is also just, it's just low value, I think. Yeah. But this is where like going back to the beginning of the show when I said like opening your mind makes sense. And that's why I've written off 60% of the guys in the draft is for reasons like this, which you just can't do.
So the thing is though, I mean, tight ends obviously have like a tough transition, right? From
Usually.
college to the NFL. Like
Less so in the past couple of years for the receivers.
What's that?
Less so in the past couple of years for the receivers.
Like the pure receiving tight ends?
Yeah. Like you're starting to see like Brock Bowers pops off.
Sure. Yeah.
Like Kyle Pitts goes for 1,000 as a rookie. Tyler Warren last year. Colston Loveland last year.
Those are all premium picks though.
Definitely. That is true.
But with Stowers, I think he does have some of that like Colston Loveland to him where it's like, I mean, I said it a ton last year. He's just a big wide receiver who can block. I don't think Stowers necessarily has the blocking ceiling that Loveland showed.
Agreed.
Playing in that Michigan, I mean, it was clear that Colston was able to do that.
Colston had more prototypical size too, which made you feel better about the projection as a blocker.
But 6'4", 239, I'm not mad at that at all.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible, and it's crazy that he's running faster than a lot of these wide receivers.
Yeah, so I understand a lot of what you're saying, especially like the redundancy with Evan Ingram and how he's just kind of become, for better or worse, a void on the roster.
Yeah,
right.
I understand that, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to try and get ahead of that if you're going to also have Evan on the roster regardless this next year. Maybe start this kid's development, and you don't have to deal with a rookie tight end actually being put in a tough spot in next year. So.
Yeah. I think what it comes down to is I don't want to use two spots on a joker tight end. I think 2 year 53, like there's spots where having multiple makes sense. To me, that's just not one where it makes sense. I think that's what it boils down to.
I think it's a good point, though.
Stowers is also like you just do not see the 45-inch vertical explosiveness or the 4.51 speed on tape very much.
Yeah.
First off, rewatching him last night, Diego Pavia is a joke. That guy is a terrible quarterback. But the fact that he was a Heisman finalist is an embarrassment to the award.
He is a dog. A weird dog.
Now, in fairness to Stowers, he's not used as much as a deep threat. But the underneath stuff, he's just not getting separation. And a lot of times on the contested stuff, he's not coming down with it. There's a lot of like, oh, did he bobble that? Oh, he drops it. But it's like, it's not a real drop because the DB makes a good play because he didn't separate enough.
But for tight ends, that's kind of the job. Is like there's a guy on your back and you got to catch the ball.
That's what you bring to the table, yeah.
Exactly.
And I think maybe to get open on the short stuff, he's a little better. And that's maybe where the first step quickness and being able to use his bigger body to get in front of guys shines a little more. But you're not drafting this guy for the short stuff. You're drafting him for the intermediate stuff and the big playability. And there's not enough flashes of that on the tape. Like, the tape would never suggest that he's faster than Carnell Tate. Ever.
Yeah.
You would be a lunatic to say that.
Yeah. Play speed's a real thing.
100%. I mean, he gives me Noah Fant vibes.
Oof.
Like, where the tape just didn't.
Yeah.
The athleticism didn't necessarily translate on the tape.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a bit of a controversial name to bring up on a Broncos-centric podcast.
Right.
I have a hard time buying in, but it wouldn't surprise me if others had other views. And look, he is the most productive tight end in the country with, in the toughest conference in an offense where you knew you just had to stop Stowers and Pavia. Like, those were the two guys you were zeroing in on in the SEC, and they had one of the best seasons in Vandy history, and he was like one of the two catalysts of that. So, and then he puts up these numbers with size that's just like Kenyon Sadiq.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy who we're not thinking of because of everything we just said, the fit, the tape, but then others with a fresh, open mind are evaluating him and saying like, wow, no, it's not that crazy to draft him at 30th overall.
Because we think he's going to give us 1,000 yards a year
Right.
for the next decade.
And I mean, Justin Jolly, Fran's favorite tight end too, to me translates a lot more as that vision of a tight end.
Right.
That's a guy who's like, oh yeah, he looks Isaiah Likely-esque. Or as Yaya and I both had the same thought, he looks Harold Fannin-esque, which signed me up for Justin. I almost called him Justin Jolly, Justin Jolie, not two L's.
Right, just the one.
Yeah. So it makes me feel jolly to watch him, but that's neither here nor there.
I'll throw all of this is why I'm ready to overdraft Sam Roush from Stanford. I mean,
Short arms.
oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I did see. Yeah,
How about our guy, Riley Nowakowski?
Yeah.
Just in the third round.
Not at 30, but yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Tanner Kozoil had a Raz similar to Sam Roush. Sam Roush is the Stanford tight end, who I know our chat likes. It's just like it's harder for me to buy the vision on an inline tight end with shorter arms, but that's
okay.
Kozoil was a touchdown machine at Houston, has the prototypical size, and then tested out of this world and has the length as well, though less of a polished blocker than Roush, who maybe doesn't have the tools for that to train. So they're two interesting ones.
Yeah,
I think 30's a smidge rich for both, though.
Oh, definitely. And that's where like Roush, if you want him in the second, I'd get behind it. If you give him in the third, that's great. But like a guy who's just 6'6", 260 blocks, didn't. The thing about where the Broncos are is that they have room for somebody to step in and just be a better Adam Troutman. And for him, I think that he can immediately show up and just be good enough to be on the field, whether he's better or not. And you just wind up when you're on the field so much having big numbers. Like he had almost 600 receiving yards, which it doesn't get you going, but it's the second most for anybody in that Stanford offense that wasn't very good. You knew that he was one of the few options in the passing game, and it's nothing special, but it's just those out routes where he's just wide open. It's a block and release where he's good at feeling the space underneath. And if you were to just nail that guy, put him into the lineup, then all of a sudden you're free next year to go get the Joker tight end with the rest of the position just super solidified. And so I think that he to me just looks like a super smart player who knows what he's doing, who can do some of the dirty work, can provide enough as a receiver. And that means he might never make a Pro Bowl, but just the 10 years of just being your inline tight end is a valuable thing.
I mean, it's about building a room at the same time, though, right? Like, I think we get very caught up, I think, in immediate impact, rookie contract impact, but it is about rounding out a room and trying to just make the room better at the end of the day. And maybe, yes, 30 is rich for some of these guys that we're talking about, for sure. But if you find a guy that, like you said, like you can easily see him filling in for like an Adam Troutman role, a Nate Adkins role. Right. If you can upgrade those roles, you are getting better still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where there's room for somebody to just be on the field a lot. And who knows, maybe they go get Kate Otten or something like that and all this changes. But as of right now, like you talk about like, can you get Stowers on the field? You probably have to. That means you're taking Ingram off the field. And even then you're talking about like, okay, he's got 400 snaps this year. And there's, what Troutman play? 800, 700 probably last year. Those snaps are one of those spots on the offense where there's just like, you're not upgrading the left tackle snaps, the right like there's so many spots where you're just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's the place where there's room for somebody to step in and play. I think that's why inline tight end might not be that great, but you just don't see guys, I feel like, come out every year who are good at that. Come in at 267 or whatever and can just go do it.
To play.
They're rare.
Right.
Very rare.
And then
Tough position.
Roush too, like occasionally it's like, okay,
And
so
it's a position where the demand isn't the output isn't meeting the demand.
100%.
right.
100%.
Nobody's growing up saying like, I want to be a blocking tight end. Like you're just like, oh, I'm not big enough to play tackle. And so they're just going to put me out here and I can't catch the ball. Or like, I'm too big to play receiver. And so they're going to put me in here and I'm actually too small to actually be productive. And that's why you get one who I think is just ready made to just go be that guy. And on top of that, like you get the ball in his hands. He's not going to be like wiggling past guys. But when he gets ahead of steam at 267, he's falling forward. There's an extra few at the end.
Yeah.
That's one of those guys that they need. Again, if you go get Kate Otten, then there's no issue. But
Sure.
just you don't mess around with the Lucas Crolls. Can you make it work? But just
are the
go get 'em.
resources better used on a K. Dotton in free agency than a second rounder on Sam Roush?
Right.
Sam Roush only 15 fewer receiving yards than Kenyon Sadiq, 5 more receiving yards per game than Kenyon Sadiq. Big difference though. Roush has 2 receiving touchdowns. Sadiq 8.
Did Roush have more last year? I could be wrong.
He has 4 total, 2 in each of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Kazoil was second only to Stowers in receiving yards with 727 and had 6 receiving touchdowns.
And similar to the Kate Otten conversation, you say like, wow, I think he might have had 600 receiving yards last year. And you're like, oh, as a Broncos fan, tight end with 600 receiving yards, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We played the second most snaps of any tight end in the NFL. For a tight end, just being on the field is going to lead to opportunities for little 4-yard catches that you turn to 7.
Especially in the multiple tight end evolution of the NFL that we're currently in, you know?
Right.
Yeah, let's hit those super chats, my boy.
Ooh.
And yes, Pure Lapine, it's true. Stowers is a willing blocker. He does some stuff in line from time to time. He's just not a very good blocker.
Jonathan Cooper would eat him alive. That's one of the things I would say.
Yes. Pure Lapine, though, with a super chat. Thank you, my boy. You heard it here first. Tight end Stowers in the first, I'm assuming. Washington and linebacker Wilson, the first 3 rounds. That's my hope. And Sunshine Mock. Look, it's not even that crazy. I mean, I think Pure Lapine got very realistic with this mock. It's a linebacker we don't even know who he's talking about, so we'd love some clarity there. That's another big combine winner we haven't touched on. We touched on like 30 names, but Mike Washington, the Arkansas running back, at 220 plus pounds, running in the 4.3s is massive.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's a deep cut. There's a lot of guys you could get first in the top 100, you know. And then Stowers is an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. Dayton A. Fox, 72. Daytona, thank you. God damn it. I swear I know how to read. Thoughts on DJ Moore getting traded to Buffalo? What was the trade compensation? Do you have that handy, Hanky?
Don't at the moment. I think somebody said mid-round pick, or maybe mid-round picks.
Here, I got it. Or, no, I'm sorry, I don't. Never mind.
I'm pulling it up.
I haven't been locked in on that.
I don't know if we know.
Well, for starters, the guys were saying it was a classic Bills wide receiver.
Right.
They love the retread market. So that was our first reaction. Secondly, I'd really like to see the trade compensation. Huh. I mean, that upgrades that room and it takes someone out of the wide receiver market in the late first, which is intriguing for the Broncos. Those would be my takeaways.
I don't think Bears fans are upset, frankly.
No, he was kind of blamed for that overtime interception and not running that route hard enough.
Right.
Because, they're at the stage in their franchise where you're not going to blame your young franchise quarterback. So find someone else to scapegoat. And he got it. Well, boys, that was a good one. I appreciate the Toyota chat. Leave us a thumbs up on the way out. This was a fun convo. It sounds like I feel better about O-line, a pure D lineman if they were to drop, and wide receiver firmly in the combo.
I think the dream for me is like somehow Peter Woods or one of those guys is still there.
Yeah.
I can get on
Or
board
tackle
with that.
too. Tackle
Kadyn
too.
Proctor.
Man. Kadyn Proctor.
Proctor, Banks, Woods.
Yep.
Those are the kind of guys like we'd be in on.
Yeah. Proctor, I just have a tough time believing.
Give us some A-grade beef up top.
Please.
And then we can have some fun in the second and third. We'll see. Jordan Tyson's a tricky one because of the medicals. So behind closed doors, the real stuff is happening. Jacob Rodriguez is getting some first-round buzz now. Hank, the Josie Jewell comps died because now he's an elite athlete all of a sudden.
Now he's juiced up Josie Jewell.
Yep.
Which is a very different player.
Put on the tape.
Very different.
Juiced up Josie
Put
Jewell
on the
is
tape.
now, that's
Dude does move
a
different.
great linebacker.
Does move different.
He was in the Heisman conversation as a linebacker.
That's exactly right.
I think Josie would have been too if he was playing this year. How many? What was Fernando's like total passing yards? Like 3,200. Right. That was your Heisman winner. This wasn't like an elite Heisman conversation, but still, we give him credit. We give him
national
credit.
title. What are we talking
Just
about?
making a point of his production, how important he was to that Texas Tech defense.
Totally.
The fact that
As
they may
Josie
have
was.
3 first-rounders on defense and he might have been the best player and not one of the 3. Also, I'm firmly in the Caleb Downs is the 3rd back 7 defender from Ohio State.
Yeah,
getting drafted.
this is
The knee-
classic prospect fatigue.
Yes.
The knee,
yes.
though.
This is the Will Johnson thing happened last year too, and this guy just went out there and played well. So
In year one, Todd Gurley had the degenerative knee, and look what happened to him.
Hard for me to not believe in Caleb Downs.
I 150% believe in Caleb Downs. I just don't know about his knee. Like if he's going to be done in 4 years.
I don't think it sounded that bad.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I only see Twitter, so I see.
Yeah, no, totally.
His leg may be amputated by the.
Yeah, no.
They're all morons on
that's
there.
it. Yeah, they are. Bit of a overreactionary group on draft Twitter, but we love them for it. We love you guys for tuning in. I love my guys, the Schwan Man and Young Hank.
always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure talking ball with you all. We will be back next week. God bless you all. God bless Bo Nix. God bless the Denver Broncos. We out.
We all silly like the mayor.